Welcome back to Class Valuation's new hire training series on appraisal report writing. The intent is to guide a real estate appraiser, a user of appraisal services like an employee at a lender or an appraisal management company, or for that matter, any other reader of an appraisal report through the form. Before we get started, if you're not already a subscriber to the Class Valuation channel, consider subscribing. It helps the channel out and you'll be alerted to the availability of new content. We appreciate your support, and if you like this video, please remember to smash that like button. As you have learned previously, there are three main approaches to valuing a property: the sales comparison approach, the income approach, and the cost approach. The reports we see here at Class Valuation will have the sales comparison approach completed. Many will include the cost approach, usually at the request of our lender-client partners. However, the income approach will usually only be completed on assignments for investment properties, either single-family or multifamily. And when they're multifamily properties, they'll be completed on the 1025 form. The sections of the form where the appraisers complete these approaches to value each have their own space for summarizing the results of the approach. And appraisers call the summary of an approach to value a reconciliation. A reconciliation is nothing more than a summary that points the reader to the most important pieces of data and gives the reader insight into why those data points are most important. A properly written reconciliation allows the reader to understand the appraiser's analysis and thought process. The sales comparison approach is the most widely used method in real estate appraisal today to estimate the value of a property. It involves comparing the property being appraised with similar properties that have recently sold in the same area. The approach assumes that the market value of a property can be determined by analyzing the prices at which comparable properties have been sold. The cost approach is a method used in real estate appraisal to estimate the value of a property based on the cost to replace or reproduce it. This approach is particularly useful when the property being appraised is new or lacks comparable sales data. The cost approach takes into account the cost of the land and the cost of constructing a similar property, adjusted for depreciation and other factors. The income approach is one of the methods used in real estate appraisal to estimate the value of an income-generating property. It is based on the principle that the value of the property is determined by the income it can generate. The income approach is commonly used for properties such as commercial buildings, rental apartments, and office complexes. In the reconciliation section, each of the indicated values to the three approaches to value are reported. With the sales comparison approach, you should see the appraiser identifying the sales that are best indicators of the subject's market value. Often you will see the appraiser using the term weight or weighting or emphasis given to a specific sale or group of sales. Sometimes appraisers will express their weighting mathematically by applying a percentage to each of the sales, and sometimes they will simply describe the weighting verbally. Comp 1 received most emphasis, or Comp 5 was not given any weight at all. In the reconciliation of the cost approach, the appraiser should be identifying the source of their site value and the source of their build cost data. They should also tell the reader how they calculated the depreciation. In the reconciliation of the income approach, the appraiser should be referencing that they used market rents as opposed to actual rents, and they should be describing how they determine the gross rent multiplier, or GRM, used in their analysis. With each method, the appraiser is looking at various kinds of data and combines those pieces of data into an indication of value. The reconciliation is where the appraiser discusses the data that they used and lets the reader see how they use that data to come up with a value indication. After the approaches to value are completed, the appraiser must check the data, calculations, and conclusions. The appraiser must reconcile each approach to value and must reconcile all approaches into a final opinion of value for the property. The appraisals that you see here at Class will almost always place most weight on the sales comparison approach. This is required by our clients, who are the intended users, and is outlined in the signed certification. So with most reports, the sales comparison approach result will be the same as the appraiser's final value opinion. If it's not, that's a good reason to escalate the file. However, the appraiser can and should reconcile how the other two approaches to value, if completed, either support or fail to support the indication of value from the sales comparison approach. Before completing the reconciliation section, the appraiser must complete the conditions of value estimate. This requires the selection of one or more of the four boxes, which are dependent on the assignment itself and the property condition. If there are no repairs, alterations, or inspections required by the appraiser, the report is completed as is. However, if repairs or alterations are required, the appraiser must indicate the extent of the repairs and note this in the appropriate section of the appraisal, or in the additional comment section, or in the addendum under a heading like reconciliation required repairs. They should list the repairs noted, and if the assignment is for FHA, the appraiser must include an estimated cost to cure those deficiencies. If the appraiser is not qualified to evaluate the alterations or repairs, then the appraiser must note the deficiencies and then complete the appraisal subject to an inspection by a qualified professional or individual. The lender client must then decide if the inspection or inspections are even required and whether the property meets the eligibility requirements for their investor. When the appraiser selects the fourth checkbox, the appraiser must indicate the reasoning for any required inspections and note this in the appropriate section of the appraisal and list the required inspections. The values subject to completion per plans and specifications, or subject to the following repairs or alterations, or even subject to the following required inspection, must be consistent with the subject property's condition or conditions described in the report, and there must be photographic evidence to support the conclusions. Finally, the appraiser will include their opinion of value. This is based on the definition of market value included in the pre-printed form. The appraiser will also enter the date of inspection and the effective date of the appraisal, which should be one and the same for a mortgage financial transaction. Today's video could not be possible without the use of these trusted sources. We encourage you to view the remaining videos in this series. And don't forget, if you're not already a subscriber to the Class Valuation channel, consider subscribing, and if you like this video, please remember to smash that like button. Thank you for taking the time to check this video out, and have a great day.